Well, just to kick us off here, thanks for everyone for joining. This won't be long, depending on questions, but I'll put on my lightning class leadership hat here and take off my sailor hat. The executive committee and the leadership of the lightning class, we think it's important when people, members, boat owners come to us with ideas that might make the boat and the class better. We like to explore them and understand them. And we have the opportunity at the Winter Championship this year to explore and better understand using RaceSense. And with Doug Wake's help, who's on the call tonight, he's going to be helping us at the regatta too. We're going to be able to learn more about it, and it's going to be great. And for anyone out there who wondering, we're not making a class decision for the future of the class to use RaceSense forever and ever, but we want to be able to speak to it better and be educated. And what a great way to do it! And we're so fortunate to be able to use RaceSense at a big regatta at no charge to you. So it's if you don't have, we're going to get into the details very, very shortly, but this is a free way for all of you to try RaceSense, me included. I've never used it. So it's just an exciting opportunity. And I want you to enter this regatta with an open mind that we're trying something new. Todd Fedison, who will be the PRO, he very much has encouraged us to try it. He'll be on shortly. He'll have some time to talk as well, but I just asked you to be an open mind. We're kind of agnostic to the class, the leadership to this, because we just don't know. So anyhow, with that, I'll turn it back to Laura or hand it right over to Doug. Laura, you might want to do some housekeeping in terms of like if people have questions.
Yeah, no, well, we don't have any questions to date, but if you do have any questions, as I just mentioned, please use the chat and we'll call on you. And Todd has joined us. Todd, do you have anything to say from the get-go, or do you want to talk at the end? I'm putting him on the spot.
No, I just think it's a great opportunity. I mean, there's a lot of classes that are now using it. I mean, obviously, with Vakaros and Doug being on board to support this as a test event, and there's no cost to anybody involved, so it's just a really, really good opportunity to try something new, and we're really looking forward to working with it from a race committee side, and kind of put it through its paces and see how it goes. So we're thrilled to be a part of it.
Great, and I think I will. The update you just sent me, the notice of race has been amended.
Yeah, the NOR is updated online, so it's got the wording in there that needs to be there. That's just kind of the official kind of release in the bottom part of section number 1. And then I've got a couple different templates of sailing instructions that have been used this winter at the J70 Winter Series and at some of the Etchells regattas. So we're going to use that in the SIs to make sure that everything's laid out very clearly. And there have been a couple small issues that have been brought up where where the system had a bit of a glitch and things weren't working. So we have the ability to go back to the standard rule 26 starting if need be. But those will all be outlined in the SIs very, very, very clearly. And there'll also be the option for us to fly a flag if things aren't working. We'll announce it over the radio repeatedly. I'll make sure I say it at 90 miles an hour. And we've got the option if things aren't functioning to go back to the to the traditional way. I'm not going to say the old school way, but the traditional way if need be. But I don't foresee there being any problems because Doug's going to be standing at our side and helping out, and he's going to be a huge asset to have on site.
Great. Thank you so much, Todd. Doug, I think it's your turn.
Perfect. Lovely. For better or for worse, for all of you. Well, anyways, I guess probably the best place to start is with a brief intro. I think a lot of you know me, and I know a lot of the names that I'm seeing here, but there are a few I'm unfamiliar with. I grew up in the Lightning class. My parents sailed in the class since I was a little kid. After I decided I didn't hate sailing at age 13, I took up Lightning sailing, and I've loved it, and I've done everything, worlds, youth worlds, all that sort of stuff. And so the Lightning is, I consider it it's my first love in sailing. So it's pretty exciting to me to work on developing this sort of technology and then be able to bring it back to the Lightning class. It's actually, I didn't exactly develop Mark Sepot, but I was on the team when that was coming out too. And so it's cool to see, in my opinion, Lightning sailors working to bring the sport forward. So I just want to start by saying thanks to Todd, David, the EC, Laura for working hard to make this trial event a reality for the Lightning class. It's something that I've been wanting to do for 2 years now since we debuted this. So anyways, I will try not to be too long-winded. I sit in a lot of meetings with a lot of race committees, and there's a lot of talking that goes on with that. And so I'll try and give the cliff notes of what RaceSense is, what it's going to look like for this regatta, and how that's going to impact all of your sailing, and then hopefully take some questions. So, what does RaceSense do, and why do we need this automated starting system? Well, we've all been on the water, and we've all been a victim of a general recall, right? That's no fun. We're waiting on the water, we're ragging our sails. We've all been a victim of, redress hearings because we don't know if someone was over or not, or somebody was hidden and you're mad that you got called, but they got away. And that's just a consequence of the sport that we're all a part of. Being a race officer in sailing, in my opinion, and in Vakaros' opinion, is probably the hardest officiating position in sports because you're having to judge one object that's moving on a moving plane at a time. It's nearly impossible to accurately call boats over early when they're bunched up and whatnot, and that's what leads to general recalls. So the first problem that RaceSense solves is OCS detection. RaceSense makes OCS calls. That's what we started off wanting to do, right? We were sailors that had been sick of general recalls and boats getting away with things and not knowing. And so we set out to solve that problem. And then one of the main ways that we do that is through synchronized timing and positioning. So one of the cool features with RaceSense that you guys will get a chance to interact with is everybody's timers are actually started automatically and they're synchronized. And they'll probably start 15 minutes before the race because we'll get them fired up for you. So one of the real benefits that we've found running RaceSense that we didn't necessarily expect at first is that it's really nice to have your timer running 15 minutes out from the start. If you have time to spin a turn on the rig or sail up for 5 minutes or use the bathroom or have a sandwich. So everybody's timing will be synchronized. And then in classes unlike the Lightning, your pings are all automated. So I know some of you sail in other classes where you have to go ping the end, and it's a royal pain in the ass. So that's automated as well, but that doesn't make a difference to us Lightning sailors. So what are we achieving? No unfair OCS calls, no general recalls, and when you are over, there's no muffled or delayed VHF hail, right? We've all been in the situations where there's 6 boats over, and you drew the short straw, and you're the 6th boat that gets called to come back on the VHF. And it sucks, and it's just totally how it is. All the OCS notification in RaceSense is immediate, and it's all standard throughout the fleet. So you'll see that immediately. So RaceSense's technologies that's been used by over 60 classes worldwide, over 300 events. I threw a few logos here, but this is just a snapshot. Classes from I just ran a 95 boat Melgus 15 regatta with 3 race committee staff last weekend. But the Snipe, the MC Scow, the Etchels, the Starboat, we've run Opti events. So this is something that's really being used from the floor of the sport all the way to the ceiling with the 52 Super Series. We've run over 15 World Championships in classes including the Etchels, the J70, the J24, the NACRA 17s, 49ers, all those couple Olympic classes. And we've run a ton of really big events as well. And this is a cool shot of a Melgus 15 event that we ran about a month ago with 109 boats. It's the biggest single line, or most boats on a single line that we've run. And it's something that just doesn't happen with a single piece starting line without technology. So how does RaceSense work? Well, first of all, we use what's called dual band GNSS. It's a super accurate form of GPS, and we also benefit from something called differential GNSS, which feeds corrections into all the boats on the course all the time, which gets us down to about a 25 centimeter accuracy number. That may seem like a lot when you hold it up here, but A, I challenge you to start within 25 centimeters of the line. It's really, really hard. And B, as boats are moving, if you're sailing upwind at 5 knots like a Lightning does, that's about a sixth of a second, which is, way beyond human reaction time. So the way that RaceSense works is we model the shape of the boat. In this case, obviously, it's the Lightning. And we input a bow offset for where the device is placed. So we know in the Lightning, I think the number's like 231 centimeters is like a pretty standard number to the back of the mast. If boats have to mount a little further back because they're mounting on the coaming in the cockpit or something like that, we can adjust that boat to boat. So we input a bow offset for each boat. And once we know that, we're able to map the shape of the boat around that and use the magnetic compass in the device to model the orientation of the boat. So you can sort of see in this model that I mocked up here, yes, we'll call the bow over. We will also call the beam or the transom over. And where this is more applicable is when boats are clearing and we're actually calling once you've dipped the start line. It is the whole shape of the boat that's accounted for. That's a pretty common question. If we call from just the device or just the bow, it's not a single point. It's a full multi-point drawing of the boat. And it's using a tool. This was really important to us when we designed this software and the system that people already sail with. In the Lightning class, there aren't as many people sailing with Atlases as in, say, the VX or something like that, just because the Lightning class, A, just changed the electronics policy, and B, has never pinged. So people, are used to their normal tactic. But, this is a device that people are familiar with. There's no extra transducer or transceiver that needs to go on the boat. There's not a tracker that you're going to forget about at the end of the day, right? It's your instrument that you're seeing in front of your face. You're certain it's working. And I think the other thing that's important for the Lightning class is that we actually set the devices to lock down their functionality and operate in a class compliant mode. So for this event and for all Lightning racing, that's allowing magnetic heading, so your compass basically in place of your tactic, and a timer. And that's all that you're allowed, as well as data logging. So we actually did at the North Americans and the Canadians, we did some comparison of some of the data that we were logging off of some of the boats that had these devices. And I'm hoping to do more of that at the Winter Championship. But in terms of what you can access on the water, it's just, I've got a device here. It's just your compass and the timer, which is going to be automatic. Now, on a training day, you could open it up and train with the Speedo if you want to. But for racing, it's all locked down into the compliant mode. And so the Atlas Edge, and I'm not trying to have this be a sales pitch or anything. I just put the price because I know people are going to ask. The Atlas Edge is our more affordable option. Retails at $749, and that's what a lot of the sailors that are competing at the Winter Championship have. I see Mr. Foddy nodding. I know that he has one, and there are others as well. That's what we race the North Americans with on the 15390. Here's a picture of an Edge still on the boot up screen, mounted on our mast. You can sort of see that for size reference. One thing that surprises people is that you actually can see it in most cases better than a tactic. The field of view is really, really wide, despite not being triangle shaped. So I know I've had some people ask on the Lightning, hey, can the forward crew see it? As someone who did the front at the NAs, that was no problem for me. And then it's much bigger numbers for everybody further back, and it's friendly with your polarized glasses. So anyways, that's sort of my cliff notes on what RaceSense is going to look like for the North Americans. I think that I'm certain that there are going to be more than a few questions. So I did just want to get to the point of discussion, hearing what people have to say, what questions I can answer now. And yeah, so I'll tee it off to anything that's come in the chat. I can't see.
I will.
And we can roll. There are also some Lightning sailors here who have used RaceSense. So I've barely ever sailed with the system. So I may punt to them if I've used it for 2 events. I see Bill saying what? I've run probably 50. So Actually, there is one more thing I should show you. This will be sort of interest to Todd and to the rest of the fleet. So I just set up a little network here. It's running sort of on my apartment balcony. Um, this is the race committee view. You can't necessarily see it all that well, and I've only got one participant because I don't have that many devices. But you can see the race committee can go in, to RC actions. They can postpone. They can schedule a start, whatever they may want to do. So just as an example of what you're going to see on the water, to say that this is your device and it's in a network, say I schedule a start, your device is going to light up and tell you new start. The countdown is going to be running automatically. And then in about 5.5 minutes, we can check back and see if this device gets called OCS or not to see what it looks like. So anyways, yeah, just a little look at some of the things that you'd be seeing on the water. All right.
So the first question we had was from Bob Shapiro, and his question is, so would we leave our tactics on shore?
I would suggest yes. The reason for that is A, you don't need to carry extra weight, and this device already has a magnetic compass. B, and this is an important point, if people were to decide to sail with both, that's okay. When they get too close to each other, what you'll actually see is magnetic interference. And this is something that people actually rarely notice on their compasses, but an example, and you could do the same thing with a tactic. So my phone has speakers in it, right, that are big magnets. Watch what happens when I put it close to the compass. Pretty big difference, right? And that changes the orientation of the boat. So one of the things that's important is having this mounted free and clear of other devices. So I wouldn't see a reason to sail with a tactic. You're going to have a compass already. That's just my recommendation.
And so the compass, just say, for instance, the system went down, the compass is still going to work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if there
nothing.
were to be some crazy problem with the network, like honestly, the most likely thing would be that I drop the tablet in the water off the race committee boat and we're hosed. Yes, the device will still work with the compass. You can still manually start your timer. I want to emphasize that, yeah, these are devices that you can use without RaceSense, like we do.
So that brings us to the next question, which is from Chad Proctor, is why are we required to keep the device on for the whole race?
That's a good question, Chad. I suppose if you really wanted to, you could turn it off. RaceSense also does finishing automations, and I imagine we want to give the class a chance to trial that as well. So as the boats sail through the line, we automatically note the time and obviously the finishing order they're in. So keep them on. It's best practice. I'm not going to come in and steal your data is the other. If you don't want to be included in any of the data reviews, if that's anybody's deal, just tell me and I won't put it in. I'm not going to expose everyone's secrets.
Can I unmute myself and continue?
Absolutely.
Please.
Okay. So will we have data available after racing so we can learn from it?
Yeah. So data's an interesting question and opens a whole other can of worms. I think there are two important notes on that. One, the high resolution data that you really learn a lot from is stored locally on the device. So if teams are interested in getting that high res data after racing and being able to do something with that, you'll want to come see me after racing if you're using a borrowed device to help get that data off. If you own your own, you'll already know how to do that, or I can help you do that. But I guess the short point is, yeah, if you'd like help, looking through your data and figuring out how to learn from that, bring your device to me after racing, and yeah, by all means, let's do it. I'll send out after this an example. We hired a remote coach at the Canadians that we sent our data to. It was us, Augie, Tanner, and maybe Abby or something like that. I can't remember. And it was super insightful. It was something I'd never done in the Lightning. But yeah, we can absolutely do that. And I'm hoping to sync up with Greg Fisher to to work that into his debriefs. We were just chatting about this at the Melgus 15 event this past weekend.
And you guys are all going to rag on me because my beats might have been 60-40 instead of 50-50.
Oh my God, yeah, it's retrospect, hindsight's 2020. But yeah, if that's something people are interested in, happy to help facilitate it. If you want to get off the water and not think about it, I'm not going to be mad about that either. So yeah, I'll just catch Ched's latest question when he popped that in. So we will have a low res replay available, but it's low res, right? Which shows all the boats moving up and down the course. It's not going to show you in 5 hertz how somebody's heel angle is changing. It might be once per second or once every other second just to see where people go up the beats. That's still sort of in testing for us, but we're going to run it at this event regardless, just to see how it works. But I don't want to make any promises that feature will be perfect because we've really worked hard on the on-water aspect, and now we're circling back to the tracking and replay and all that sort of stuff natively.
Next question was from Bill Foddy, and it was about putting devices into class compliant mode, and if they need to be brought to you, can you just you'll go in about the
yeah, that's a great question.
Doug, while you're answering that, maybe just tie in what I was asking before the call about making sure it's up to date, the software. Thanks.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So for the teams that own their own device, we will send out a welcome letter probably 3-4 days before the event. We'll put it on the notice board. And that'll give instructions on a number of things. How to update your firmware to the latest version, how to put the device in Lightning class compliance mode, all that sort of stuff. And then at check-in, if you own your own device, you'll bring it to me. I'll be sitting by the registration table, I assume, wherever Laura tells me to go. And then I will scan that into the RaceSense network. I'll make sure that your firmware and your class compliance are all set and send you off on your merry way. If you are borrowing a device, we'll have the loaner devices there. We've also worked with our mount supplier to secure 30 trial brackets. So for anybody that doesn't have a mounting bracket, we'll have 2 options. One, we'll have a mast mount that can Velcro around the Lightning mast section. It'll be 3D printed and shaped to the Lightning section, so it'll actually be a real good fit. And then we will also have an adapter that goes in an existing Tactic micro bracket. So you'll actually be able to click this into your micro bracket, which might be easier for some people because I know those Tactic brackets basically weld themselves onto the mast if you've sailed in salt water and never come off. So we'll have both of those options, and we can work with you to figure out what's easiest and what people want to do.
The next question, you answered the question about the mounts, John Worley, and next one is a comment from Mark Schneider that this just removes human error on the start and finishes. If you're coming downwind with 6 boats, the computer will record who beat who, and no human error there. And on the starts being OCS, you don't lose that much difference because it's an immediate decision. And then Ched had one more question. Does the compass feature work off GPS or magnetic detection?
Yeah, so it's a magnetic compass, right? It's like, it's actually a much better compass than the Tactic. So my quick soapbox, the history of compasses. The Fluxgate compass was developed during World War II, and it was a really revolutionary concept then. That's what's in your Tactic. It's really good when you're pointing north and south or east and west. When you get to those 45s, the Fluxgate compass in a nonlinear way struggles. So what you'll actually see is if you're sailing at 45 degrees and then your compass goes to say 42, you may be lifted 8 degrees or you may be lifted 1 degree. And that consistency is really low. So we actually have a magnetic compass that's a much more modern sensor that doesn't have those sorts of issues like the FlexGate does.
I have a question too, Doug. While we're at it, I know there was a comment made about finishing. It's my understanding that we're not using it for finishing, correct? We're just using it for starting.
Yeah, I'll run finishing in the background. I mean, it's whatever it is. I assume the RC is going to do their thing, but if I'm out there, I might as well run it in the background anyways, just to get more hours on it. If
I mean,
that's
I'd be very curious to compare the notes after the fact. I know,
exactly, that's what we
talking
do
with
usually.
some of the other PROs and stuff, they're not using it for finishing yet, but I'd love to see the data on that after the fact.
Yeah, we're of the opinion, yeah, with finishing, you only get one chance to get it right. So we do as many things as we can to be redundant. One of the cool things, this might not be that electrifying of a number in the Lightning, but when boats finish in RaceSense, they actually report the distance sailed during that race, as well as their maximum speed, which is kind of funny, but somebody might go 6-7 and really set some speed records one of these days. So maybe we'll do some swag awards or something like that with the max speed numbers that we get. Um, so, anyways,
Hey, just two comments. One is just to kind of, in case something goes wrong, like Todd talked about at the beginning, we will be using bow numbers as well. We'll have bow
yeah.
numbers on boats. And my second question I had is, what happens if your battery dies? Like you forgot to charge it, your battery dies, and what occurs?
That's a great question. So I'm going to be there. I'm going to have a couple spares on the water. If there's any issue, come see me at the signal boat. You can either call us on the radio or sail by, and it's just a quick handoff swap. It's no problem. Not something we see often. I mean, I know I keep going back to this event last weekend just because it's the one I ran, but we had 94 boats on the water both days and didn't have to, no swaps, no batteries dead, no anything.
So if you swap them, isn't that compass indigenous to you? Like you are that, or
Yeah, so we have a feature where you can replace a device.
okay.
So if, say that I'll turn this around and hope that it works. Say that I tap on this competitor. See, there's a replace Atlas button. I can hit that replace Atlas button, scan a new one, and then it registers as you with a different device. Hopefully, we don't have to use that too often, but inevitably, someone will kick their device overboard or forget it in the morning or something like that. Good question from Chet, actually, on battery life. The Atlas users in the room can appreciate this. It's got 100 hours of battery life. So as long as you're not like leaving it on the entire regatta, you would have a really, really hard time killing it. So really one charge before the event, and all the loaners will charge up before the event. As long as you turn it off at night, it should be no problem. And even if you forget about it for one night, it'll probably be fine. If you say you left it on the first 2 nights accidentally and you're like, oh my God, it's going to die tomorrow, you can bring it to me and I'll charge it overnight and then I'll give it back to you. It's not a big deal. But I think the battery life tends to shock people with these things. Is there any indicator of charge? Yes, there's a little, I don't know if you can see it. There's a little battery guy up there.
Yep, we can see it.
So yeah, that's a good indicator of charge. And remember, that 8 pixel span is 100 hours. So even as you're getting down to that last pixel, you'll probably make it through the day. So yeah.
Question, did we get our start timer yet on the device?
Oh, I totally forgot about that. I'm sorry. The device was clear. It started and went on with the race.
Do you want to show them what
So
it looks
we're
like
7 minutes and 50 seconds in. But say that there's been, because it's St. Pete, there's been a 50-degree wind shift. We're going to abandon the race. That'll show up on your device, right? Same with postponements. So you'll get graphical notification of all this stuff too. So if Todd says, hey, we're going to postpone this one, he'll put the AP flag up and then I'll go and dial this in here and it'll be reflected on your device as well.
And Doug, if you do a start and your little color is red, so you were over,
Yeah.
and it's just, let's say it's a P flag start, and you you clear. So if you're not looking for the committee to drop an X flag, you're just looking for your thing to go green. Is that right?
It will say clear. Yeah, it's in the brick apartment building. It's going to be really hard for me to simulate that for you guys and make it say clear. But it will say like it'll say clear on the screen and it'll show green lights. And the OCS is pretty hard to miss. I didn't get it to make it, but this is a little sticker that shows what it says. It is truly hard to miss. So I hope none of you have to see that, but inevitably some will. So yeah.
We answered John Worley's question about using it for finishing. Todd mentioned he's gonna visually finish, but we will have the technology in the background as a backup. But his question was, is it the spinnaker that finishes or the hull? And I
Yeah,
think
so the way the rules, I can kick this to Todd, but it's the hull right now. No
Yeah,
sails.
racing rules of sailing changes, so it's the first part of your hull across.
Which your fun fact is that was actually done to support these types of electronic systems, you know, in anticipation of them becoming more and more popular.
and
Chad
then
asked, it's a lithium-ion battery, Chad. Pretty much everything that's inside this thing is battery. From like here to here is battery. And the equivalent is 4 of these is 1 hand grenade. So when I carry 30 on a plane, should get a little sketched out.
all right, we are done with the questions in the chat that have been entered. Does anybody else have any questions for Doug or Todd or?
All right.
Thank you, Bob
Yeah,
Shapiro.
thank the class by all means for making this happen. It is a unique opportunity, I can tell you, to have a cost-free trial for this. So the Lightning class is pretty lucky. And I think this will be a really cool event. I think you guys are going to love it. I'm biased, but you know, the people here that have used RaceSense, it's pretty cool.
I will just mention we have a couple, I'll call them our experts. Abby Probst, Mark Schneider, Jeff Hayden, and Don Brush are all on this call. Do you guys have anything that you want to add since you've used it before in other classes?
Yeah, I see Jim Thompson too. He's used it a bunch. Yeah, even Neil's used it.
Well, again, from my seat with the class, I think, as I said in the very beginning, this is a great opportunity. Doug, thank you for being able to provide this and help us, and to be able to do this at no charge to the membership. I think offers great value to us, and I just wanted to say thanks. And hopefully, Todd's not flying that 3-hour thing at 10 a.m. saying, "Go enjoy your." Well, maybe I should go enjoy your morning. We're going to race this afternoon. Right, Todd? You never know.
I mean, we'll do what we got to do, right? I mean, we're not going to hang out at 10 a.m. if we're going to start racing at 2:30.
Yeah, we'll call back when we can sell wind.
Bob Shapiro, these will not be in Savannah. It will only be in St. Pete. And Abby said nothing to add. Excited that everyone gets to try it. Question on the postponement. Could we carry our RaceSense atlases in our pocket so we know how much time we have left to get back?
Yeah, right.
No, we'll have a WhatsApp group for stuff like that. We'll be able to communicate with everybody pretty quickly.
Hey, if anyone knows of anyone who's sailing, the fee goes up on Saturday. So get last minute people registered for the regatta. I know there's a few more who are going to sail who haven't registered. So we got to get registered. Thanks.
Right now we're at 33, and I know there's at least 4 or 5 that still need to register. So we are definitely looking at close to 40 boats.
Awesome.
It's Jim Thompson with a couple little things to add. One, something to keep in mind is RaceSense doesn't call you OCS. Your own device calls you OCS. So it's a bit of you got to have a chat with your device to let it know that you need to stay behind the line, because it's not the ends are not doing anything. Your device is saying, hey, I crossed this invisible barrier, you dummy, we're over. And then the other thing is, if you've not used an Atlas, there's none of the dog tilting your head kind of thing. The visibility is the best device I've ever used, by a long shot. It is remarkable. The amount of, now in class compliant mode, that it's going to be a little more limited, but is still heel and trim going to be available, Doug? I don't know what. No,
No, just heading
compass
and
heading
timer.
and okay. All right. There are some, so from a training perspective, if you don't have it in class compliant mode, it's both speed, heel, trim. There's a lot of data that's available. Then all that data is also downloadable. But the biggest thing for me, honestly, is the visibility. The device itself, it's got a, for as small as it is, the display is simply awesome.
Jim? Doug, I have one more question actually. After the start, because I haven't used it in lightning class compliant mode, after the start, you'll have the magnetic compass, but then what will show at the underneath it?
Just the timer. The timer will keep counting up, which
Okay, so the
maybe some of you sail with the count up timer. I had never done it until this summer. It's actually really nice, to time out the shifts and whatnot. So see if you like sailing with the count up timer.
oh, all right.
But yeah, the screen will look the same before and after the start because there aren't enough data fields to switch between, to
Gotcha.
briefly
Okay.
answer you.
So before the start, it will count down, the start will happen, and then the timer will just count up until you. Okay. Any other questions?
If anything comes up, my email's doug@vakaros.com. Please reach out. I'm super easy to get a hold of, and I think
Yeah,
most of you probably have my phone number too. So
the
any
welcome letter,
questions?
the welcome letter is also posted on Yacht Scoring under documents, and that has Doug's email in it as well, and a couple other tidbits in case you missed it from tonight. And one final thing from Bob Shapiro is we will be running a 50-50 in St. Pete. So start saving your dollars and bring your cash and win some money. And I think that is all that we have as far as comments. And anything else, Doug? David?
Nothing else for me. Just thank you again. And I've been working really hard at this, and our whole team has, and we're really excited to share it with my class. You know, it's really, really cool.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Todd, anything else?
No, all good on this end. Appreciate it.
Sounds good. All right. We'll see everyone in St. Pete in just a few weeks. Have a great
All
night.
right.
Thanks,
See
guys.
y'all.